In this video help, I'm going to be covering the buyer's invoice report. You can find that on the pop-up menu for the different places to go. It is right here on the menu options. You can click to show that and hide it. Now, the way this particular report is set up, it shows the buyer's name and the invoice number, which is repeated over here in the row because the header can be invisible at times, and I'll show you that in a second. It has the buyer's name, address, and city, the invoice number, and the date of the invoice. It shows the item ID that was purchased and the row information for the item from the invoice. If there's multiple items, the multiple items will be shown in the row below. It shows you the sell price, the seller's discount, the sold at price, which was actually paid, the sold date, the tax that was due on that particular line, and the consignor's ID. If you need to get more information about this particular record, click on the little button at the end of the row. It'll take you to the individual record for the consignment item, which gives you the detailed information about that particular item. Now, if there were multiple rows on this invoice, they would be right below this until it shows all the items. And then what it will do is it will summarize the information for those items on the invoice within the bottom row here, which is the summary for the invoice. If you want to see the consignment information as far as, let's pop this up and I'll show you. It has the commission for the consignor and the commission for the store. It shows the rate for the percentage for the consignment for the consignor and for the store. It shows that the item was sold. And as you can see down here at the bottom, the commission for the consignor has not been paid, and there's no date that it shows that it was actually paid to the consignor. So what you would do is if you wanted to see if it was paid or not, you could check that by running the consignor's payment report. Now on this screen, there is a hidden button in this item ID, and what that does is it allows you to sort the screen so that you can see all the items by item ID in order. If you're looking for something by item ID, you can scroll through, or what you can do is do a find by the item ID to find the individual record you're looking for. You can also do a find for any field in this report, so you can find a record that has specific information you're looking for. For example, if I did a find and I wanted to find everything that had an oak table in it, on all invoices throughout the entire amount of records that are on for invoices, I would go ahead and put in oak or oak table, and it would bring up the oak table records for which are in the database, and it will show each occurrence of them on this screen. One of the nice things about this is that if you're trying to recall an invoice and which invoice it was on, you can obviously use this or enter the item ID in order to find the item within this report. You can also look at the date or dates in a date range to find whatever transactions occurred on a certain date, or you can go in and look at the invoice number in a find to find the invoice number, or you can use the find to find a buyer name and all the invoices for that buyer. And it's a very good way to track individual information for the buyer, plus the summarization for each one of the invoices as far as the revenue that was collected. If you get this record here, you're going to notice that it's when I did the item ID, it put it in order. Notice when I run the report again, it's going to go back to the original state, and what it's going to do is it's going to put the header in, but it's not going to put him back in order again. So when you do the hidden button and you bring up the item IDs in order, you're going to have to click the run report to put the headers back in, especially if you want to print, say, a couple of records and you want the screen to show them in the order that they're supposed to be in by the invoice number. You can go ahead and sort that by the invoice number. Now, on the iPad, sometimes sorting is kind of odd the way it works, so you probably want to experiment a little bit with it on the iPad as far as sorting, because it is a little different than it is if you're on the desktop. Now, the last thing is you can put notes in here. These are the report notes, basically, that will come up on the screen. And what you can do is you can use this to make notes about anything about the transaction on the invoice. Now, if you have issues and stuff like that with an invoice where somebody's not paying it, that's a great place to put the notes so that they're carried throughout the app so you can read them and identify issues that you might have with your purchaser of the items. As I stated before, if you have any questions or you don't understand something about this report, you can always contact me, and what I can do is explain those to you. I just want to cover one last thing that I'm showing right here as we're going to leave. This does also show the fees, and fees are fees to this buyer on this invoice. This might be for shipping, or it might be for packaging, or other things that might occur, and that can be done through the invoice and also through the individual consignment item information screen. Let's pop over there before we leave just to see that. In there, you'll see on this line that you can put in the fees in this area right here on the individual record. And once you've done that, you can either go back to the invoice or go back to the report, and that will give you the information. In this case, it's in the consignor's report when it comes back to the report, so you can see all the information related to the consignment item if you have to go back and look at that. Okay, thank you for taking this lesson. Thank you.